Lil Jeff was a feared leader of the Bloodhounds. He lived a life full of danger and violence, and he often rapped about it. But on June 8, 2024, he faced the same fate he had given to many others. He was shot 19 times and left lifeless on a porch. Even after he fell, his killers kept shooting to make sure he would never get back up. If that was not shocking enough, Lil Rob, the man who was said to have set Jeff up, started making fun of his death online. It was not just another shooting in Chicago's gang world, it was something much bigger. And in this breakdown, we will go deep into the whole story. Trap City Rob was not a well-known name before this happened. He was just another gang member in the streets of Chicago. But after June 8, 2024, everything changed for him. The trouble started when Rob's friend, Man, got into a serious problem. The Bloodhounds, led by Lil Jeff and his close friend Q50, were after him. That day, things reached a breaking point. Rob stepped forward and did something that would change his life forever. He pulled out his gun and shot Jeff multiple times in the chest, ending his rule in the streets. Jeff was once feared as a strong leader, but now he was just another name in the long list of people lost to gang violence. But what happened after the shooting was even more shocking. 1 week after the shooting, on June 16, 2024, something appeared on Reddit that got everybody talking. It was a picture of Trap City Rob wearing a custom t-shirt making fun of Lil Jeff's death. The details of the shirt were not clear, but one thing was obvious. Rob was not just happy about what happened, he wanted everyone to know he had no regrets. The internet exploded with reactions. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were full of posts about Rob. Some people cheered him on, calling him the realest gangster in Chicago, while others warned that he was making a dangerous mistake. In Chicago's gang culture, making fun of a dead enemy is not new, but Rob took it to another level. Soon, other members of Trap City joined in. They posted videos making fun of Jeff's last moments. They acted out the shooting and laughed at Q50 for failing to save his leader. Within hours, Instagram turned into a battlefield. Memes of Jeff getting caught by surprise flooded social media. Trap City members posted secret messages aimed at Jeff's crew. Some even recreated the exact moment when he was shot. One post became very popular. It was a blurry video showing Trap City members laughing on a porch with a message that said, "Jeff pulled up, but Unk sent him back." That one message changed everything. People stopped calling Rob by his real name. Now, they called him Unk, the old gangster who handled business when the younger ones made mistakes. Before all this, Trap City Rob was just another small rapper. He had put out a few songs, but nobody really noticed them. That changed when his name started trending. One of his old songs, What a Feeling, suddenly became popular. In just a few days, the views on YouTube went up by more than 10,000. The comment section was full of arguments. Some people said Rob was a real gangster who handled his problems the way street guys are supposed to. Others said he had just made himself a target and it was only a matter of time before someone got revenge. One of the top comments said, "Jeff came to deliver the mail," and Unk said, "Return to sender." For people outside the gang world, it became something to watch like a TV show. Some fans even joked about it like it was a sport. One person called Rob the Defensive Player of the Year and wrote, "Protect the porch at all costs." But not everyone was joking. Some people started looking at Rob's lyrics more closely. One line stood out, "Take care of them children," by a couple of buildings. Some people thought this meant Rob was not just another reckless gangster. They believed he was smarter than others thought. One comment said, "Mad respect to Unk. Let these young ones know, learn a lesson. Get your priorities straight, make your money, and invest." But in Chicago, things are never over that easily. This level of disrespect does not go unanswered. Trap City might be celebrating now, but the Bloodhounds have a long history of getting revenge. Lil Jeff's death ended his leadership, but it did not end the war. In a city where every action has a reaction, the next move is coming. And in this deadly game, nobody is ever truly safe. Do not ruin your life with drugs. Take care of your kids. This made Rob very different from Jeff in people's eyes. Jeff was a young and wild shooter, but Rob, even with his violent past, was seen as a man who lived by a certain code. On June 28, 2024, a new Reddit community called Our Trap City Ungang started. But this was not just a fan page. It was a movement. People in the group called themselves PDN, Porch Defender Nation. They made posts about Rob's actions in 2024. Enemies handled. Porch protected. Respect earned. People everywhere were talking. One person wrote, "When the bloodhounds start acting up, call T-Monk." Some even said Rob was like a neighborhood guardian, a man who took care of business but was not reckless. Before he became known as Lil Jeff's killer, Trap City Rob was not seen as an aggressor. Unlike many others in Chicago's gang world, Rob often spoke with wisdom instead of pushing violence. Members of Unk Gang started looking through his old Facebook posts. He often talked about personal growth, life lessons, and staying away from reckless choices. One of his most popular posts was about the 4 months he spent in jail. He wrote about how that time changed him and made him think about his future. For months. 1 phone call a week. That is all it took for me to understand I never wanted to go back. You do not know real loneliness until you are locked up, and the only thing keeping you strong is prayer and a couple of books. For someone now known as a ruthless shooter, these words showed a different side of him. He was not always like this. Another old post that people started sharing said, "Young black men have to do better." Too many of us throw our lives away because we do not know how to solve problems with words. No conflict resolution, just egos and guns. I am not trying to tell anybody how to live, but I promise you, this is not the way. He even spoke against drill music, saying it turned violence into a business while leaving real people either dead or in jail. These labels do not care about us. Drill music turned murder into entertainment. The problem is, people do not see the game being played until it is too late. This was not the Trap City Rob that people knew today. But what changed? Old pictures started to appear online. One picture showed Rob standing with Bloodhound Vert and another man. Many believed this was proof that Rob was once close to the Bloodhounds, or at least some of them. But looking at how Rob and Trap City members were moving now, one thing was clear: the war with the Bloodhounds was far from over. Trap City Rob had become a well-known name in the rough streets of Chicago. The war between the Bloodhounds and Trap City had been making heartbreaking headlines for a long time. This deadly conflict had left behind a trail of bodies, deep pain, and non-stop violence, with no end in sight. What started as a strong friendship between different groups had now turned into one of the most dangerous gang wars in recent years. It was fueled by betrayal, revenge, and the fight for power in both the streets and the drill music scene. In the beginning, Bloodhound, Trap City, Drill City, and other groups like 400 East, MTV 079, and Chris World were all part of an alliance called Bloodhound 0679. This alliance was made over 10 years ago to bring these groups together so they could protect each other from enemies. But in 2023, everything changed. The peace was broken when Drill City members were accused of stealing a chain from a Trap City member. This chain was not just an ordinary piece of jewelry. It had 67 stalking engraved on it, which was a strong symbol of Trap City's pride and territory. The moment the chain was stolen, everything fell apart. Trap City felt disrespected and betrayed. The situation became worse when other groups started taking sides. Most of them stood with Drill City, which made Trap City feel completely alone. Feeling betrayed, Trap City cut ties with the Alliance and declared war. That was the beginning of a violent cycle that would take many lives. One of the first major losses in this war was Zyman, a Bloodhound member and cousin to rising drill rappers Lil Jeff and Q50. On March 16, 2023, Zyman was sitting in his car on the 1300 block of East 79th Street when Trap City members attacked him. They fired at the car, hitting him 29 times. According to street rumors, someone close to Zyman had shared his location, helping Trap City find him. His death ended any hope of peace between the two groups. Lil Jeff was heartbroken over the loss of his cousin. Filled with anger, he wanted revenge. In June 2023, he reportedly shot and killed Lil, a respected Trap City member, while Lil was sitting in an Uber. This murder shocked Trap City, and Jeff's reputation as a fearless and dangerous bloodhound grew even stronger. After Lil's death, Bloodhound members began mocking Trap City on social media and in their music, celebrating their victory. Then, on January 26, 2024, the war reached a whole new level. Montario Monty Williams and Robert Lil Rob Boston, two brothers from Nitty Block, were killed in broad daylight. This was not a random act, it was planned carefully. The killers waited for the perfect moment to attack. The brothers were shot multiple times in front of witnesses and security cameras. This attack sent a strong message to Nitty Block and anyone who dared to challenge the Black Disciples. The streets were left in shock. In the days that followed, Lil Jeff went on social media and posted cryptic messages hinting at his involvement. His Instagram stories were filled with hidden messages, and his followers quickly picked up on them. His music also reflected the events, with songs like Double Trouble and Street Confessions describing the killings in chilling detail. Fans listened closely, trying to piece together the story behind the murders. Lil Jeff's music made him an even bigger name in both the gang world and the rap scene. He was now seen as both a feared gangster and a rising rapper. But this also made him a target. The murders sparked more violence, with both sides seeking revenge. The streets of Chicago became even more dangerous, filled with drive-by shootings, surprise attacks, and non-stop bloodshed. The cycle of violence seemed endless, and the number of deaths kept rising. Rival gangs wanted to strike back, and they did so by targeting Lil Squirrel, one of Lil Jeff's closest friends. Killing him was a clear message: nobody close to Lil Jeff was safe. His death hurt Jeff deeply. Even though he had built a reputation as a ruthless figure, losing someone so close to him was painful. Lil Jeff took to social media to share his grief. He posted on Instagram, saying that Lil Squirrel was not even a gang member, and that his enemies were so angry that they were willing to kill anyone just to make a point. He warned his followers to stay safe, writing, "All my innocent people, be careful." It was one of the few times Jeff showed his emotions. No matter how tough he was, even he could not escape the pain that came with the gang lifestyle. But instead of stopping the violence, Lil Squirrel's murder only made things worse. The bloodshed did not slow down, it only became worse. Lil Jeff's enemies thought killing his friend was the right payback, but all it did was make him want revenge even more. The streets of Chicago were already full of danger, but now they had become a war zone. Every time someone died, the other side hit back. It never stopped. Blood was paid with blood. As the leader of the Bloodhounds, Jeff had built a name that made people fear him. Before his name became known everywhere, Jeff was just another young boy caught in the never-ending street wars of Chicago. But while some people were forced into the violence, Jeff wanted to be in it. He was not just a gang member. He was smart, and he knew how to hunt. By the time he started making drill music in 2022, he was not just rapping about street life, he was living it. His first song, The Bloody Family, featuring JB Bin Laden, was not just music. It was a warning. It was a battle cry for the Bloodhounds. A month later, he dropped Can't Beat Us, and he made one thing very clear: I am really not a rapper. It was not just a lyric. It was a message. Jeff was not making songs for fame. He was using them to send threats. As his music became popular, so did his name. But on the streets, people did not fear his words. They feared his actions. By then, Jeff had already earned a scary nickname, the Pistol Professor. It was not just because he carried a gun. It was because he taught lessons with it. People whispered about the many names on his list of enemies. Rob from Trap City, Monty Drench Williams, Lil from Trap City, Gutter from Hit Squad, Slide from 079, Clay from 95, Boogie from 95, Mob Baby KD from the East Side. Every name was a person who had been taken out. Every name was a message sent. But this time, he was not the only one ready for a fight. As Jeff ran toward the porch, a second shooter, already inside the house, took position and started shooting. Bullets hit Jeff's body, stopping him in his tracks. He stumbled backward and fell at the bottom of the porch. His gun was still in his hand, but he could not use it anymore. The shooters inside the house kept firing, making sure Jeff was dead. By the time his body hit the ground, he had been shot 19 times. He was not getting back up. In the chaos, Q50 and the other shooter tried to fight back. Instead of running, they moved forward, still shooting. Q50 fired wildly at a passing car. Some people think it belonged to someone connected to Man. The second shooter fired at the house, but the enemy had already taken cover. At some point, Q50 slipped and fell, injuring his ankle while trying to shoot. The getaway driver, watching everything, realized something chilling. Jeff was dead. At that moment, the mission was over. Q50 and the other shooter ran back to the car, leaving Jeff's lifeless body behind as bullets continued to rain down. By the time the police arrived, the crime scene looked like a battlefield. There were 58 bullet casings scattered around. Officers marked each one, trying to put the story together. But one thing was missing: Jeff's body. In a move that even the streets did not expect, Q50 and the other shooter somehow managed to return to the scene. They grabbed Jeff's bullet-riddled body and rushed him to the hospital, even though they knew it was already too late. A viral image later appeared online, showing Q50 and the other shooter carrying Jeff into the emergency room. It was one of the last images of the man who had once been feared all over Chicago. But there was no saving him. Lil Jeff, the pistol professor, the self-proclaimed demon of Chicago, was gone forever. When news of Jeff's death spread, social media exploded. The Shy subreddit on Reddit was filled with videos, theories, and debates. Some people said Jeff and the Bloodhounds had made a mistake by underestimating their enemies. Others said it was just another example of how drill music leads to death. Some people saw the sad truth. Jeff died doing exactly what he had rapped about in his songs. From Twitter to YouTube, people argued about whether it was karma, fate, or just another day in Chicago's endless cycle of violence. But one thing was clear: Lil Jeff was finally on the other side of the gun.